So there I was, coming home from a long day of detective work when I found myself at my computer desk. The old girl had a couple of emails ready for me. What was it this time? Bills? A new case? Spam? None of the above, actually. It was a message from an indie developer. "Dear Nitro Rad, can you please play my new video game?" I thought carefully, long and hard. Then I typed my reply. So what do we have here? Pumpkin Noir, a Halloween-themed RPG Maker Film Noir game. Interesting. It's currently in development, but there is a demo available for it on rpgmaker.net, so I figured we'd check that out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a pretty big film noir fan. I mean, some of my favorite games of all time are very film noir inspired. Games like L.A. Noire and Hotel Dusk. It's always exciting to see this kind of style in a video game because you don't see it happen that often, so I always appreciate it when it does. Pumpkin Noir takes place on a floating city during Halloween. It's a very crime-filled area, definitely not the best place to live, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get by, even if that involves working as an amateur private eye in a mafia-filled city just to be able to afford the rent. Our protagonist, Rem, is part of a detective duo at Smoke and Fire Private Investigations. He's a jack-o'-lantern detective dude. His partner, Wednesday, is a ghost. She's the smoke and he's the fire. Well, I guess if you think about it literally, since he's a jack-o'-lantern, but Wednesday's the more outgoing one with the trigger finger, so perhaps it could work the opposite way too. Wednesday calls up Rem saying that she's got a lead on a brand new case, but she needs Rem to go do some snooping on the secretary's computer in order to follow up on it. The thing is though that this case might involve working for somebody that might be involved in the mafia, but I mean hey, if it means a decent paycheck, these two goons are gonna do anything. Now there seems to be two kinds of story-driven RPG Maker games, you know, the ones with battle systems like Off, Hylix, and Suits, and the ones that don't have one, you know, like One Shot, Mogeko Castle, Mad Father. Pumpkin Noir falls under the latter. Instead of picking fights and gaining experience, you'll explore your surroundings for items that you'll use to solve puzzles and talk to NPCs and try to figure out what to do next. It sounds like One Shot, but it's honestly a little closer to something like Hotel Dusk. If you played this game or its sequel, you probably know that there's a lot of walking around looking for items and solving puzzles, but that's not entirely what the game's about. There's also a lot of interviewing people, interrogating people, asking around and getting answers. Pumpkin Noir also has a lot of that as well. It is a detective game after all. You're trying to solve a mystery here, and getting the story from witnesses is always key in doing so. Interrogating NPCs is a lot simpler than in something like L.A. Noire. You're just given a series of questions to ask and you'll get responses from each one. You never have to present an item as evidence or egg somebody on by solving a puzzle, with the exception of getting one of the cabaret girls to soften up one of the guests so they'll spill the beans. I'd definitely like to see more things like that in the full game. I mean, you've got an inventory full of objects, you may as well be able to use them as evidence sometimes to pry somebody open and get the info that you need. Sometimes you'll need the objects to solve a puzzle. The first one involves trying to get a private eye who just quit smoking out of his office. You light a cigarette and let the smoke go through the vent into his room. The smell of cigarettes will make him crack and he'll go out for a smoke so you can investigate his room. This would have been a fantastic puzzle, even reminiscent of older adventure games like Grim Fandango, but the game just kinda solves it for you. I mean, if you interact with a vent with the items in your pocket, it'll just do it for you. I think it would have been much more satisfying to manually select each item and click use or combine or something like that. Speaking of smoking, there's a running gag where people think Rem smells like cigarettes, but it's not because he smokes, it's because he's a jack-o'-lantern. There's kind of fire inside of him. The game's very adamant about exploring each character's physical traits and taking them as opportunities for great writing and gags. The character designs are all fantastic, with brilliant and brightly colored pixel artwork for every character. You'll encounter a number of ghouls, zombies, and monsters, all keeping that Halloween theme. It's easily one of the better looking RPG Maker games I've played. You can tell that the artist really knows how to choose great colors. And while the environments also look great, I'd recommend making hallways that lead to other screens look a little more like they actually go somewhere. I mean, here for instance, it kinda looks like there's just a wall here, but it actually extends into another room. Perhaps going Paper Mario style and making the path extend off the map just one tile would work. There's plenty of ways to do it, it just really needs something subtle to let the player know that it leads to another screen. Overall, I think the game captures that film noir vibe very, very well. I think a big part of what does it is definitely in the music, though none of it's actually original. It's all under the Creative Commons license. I think I would like to see an original soundtrack for the game's final release, and I mean, with the level of quality using from this demo, I'm sure there's plenty of artists out there with a knack for jazz that would be more than willing to help out. The demo ends at the tail end of Chapter 1, right where things start to get interesting. Rem and Wednesday find themselves neck deep with the Mafia, and it's no longer a matter of paying the rent, but a matter of keeping their hides, making solving this case more important than ever. The demo was fairly short, it took me just under an hour to complete it. It's a nice appetizer, a taste of great things to come. It left me wanting more, and I'm definitely gonna play more when the full game comes out. With RPG Maker games becoming more and more popular over on Steam, I can easily see Pumpkin Noir becoming quite a hit. I mean, the writing, the characters, the artwork, everything's all there. I can easily see this game being very well received and selling very well. There's a couple of minor things I would change, like some typos I would fix, and what I said earlier about interrogating people, the puzzles, and areas that lead to other screens, but for the earliest demo of a game, I was pretty impressed. The demo is available over on rpgmaker.net. I will put a link to it down in the description below for anybody that wants to check out the game, and I would definitely recommend keeping tabs on this game. I'm definitely going to play the final version when it releases in probably Halloween. I mean, it's definitely not going to be this Halloween. The game's nowhere that close to being done, but regardless of what year finally gets done, I think an October release could make for one killer Halloween.